Welcome everyone to our Saturday morning art clinic online. For those of you who are joining us and haven't been here before, welcome. We are a organization community that highlights artists in the DMV area. And it's bi-weekly, so come back in 2 weeks for another incredible artist talk with Steve Wanna. But this week we have an incredible artist with Julia Bloom, hosted by Maremi Andreozzi.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, cool. Maremi was one of our artists of last year who does incredible portraiture of important female icons. No, what do we call them? Activist icons. Going back through history, so kind of giving them a platform and a portrait of their own, even if it doesn't have their features, you still kind of get a feel for the person. So I encourage you to definitely go back into our archives of the Art Clinic online and take a look at her video from last year. It was really quite awesome. And she was actually hosted by her gallery director, we'll call it, Addison. And Addison, of course, is the incredible gallerist in Kensington, Maryland. So if you get a chance, go take a look at that. And I'm going to pass it over to Maremi so she can introduce our artist for this week.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Jordan, and thank you for Julia for making the time, and I can't wait. So I was trying to think back when we met, Julia, and I really don't remember, but I'm sure we met at an artist talk or a gallery or opening or something like that. But then we were in the Phillips show, Inside Out, Upside Down, in 2021, and I remember seeing your work, and it was like my head exploded. I was just blown away. And I was, I'd always thought of you as a sculptor, but then after I saw that, I was like, oh, it all makes sense now. So it was one of those moments where I just had this revelation. And of course, my response to your work is very much comes from my own perspective and my own background as a figurative painter and a portrait painter. And I think I responded at first to your writing and this idea of the written word, and how as an artist, I'm always trying to find the voices and researching and trying to bring these voices forward. So I was really taken with your interest in archiving a time and a place and a mood. And then turning that into artwork. I just was so drawn to that. And then as a figurative painter and a portrait painter, I was really drawn to your shapes. And I think even though they're very geometric, they have this idiosyncratic personality to them. And they're sort of like fingerprints. They're unique and individual in their own way. And then there's this positive and negative kind of play that's going on. But I don't want to get the cart in front of the horse too much. So, of course, your work straddles more than just minimalism and conceptualism and abstraction and expressionism. There's sort of this layer upon layer that I think the more you hear about your work, the more you see your work, more is revealed. So, and I'm also in love with your Freight Gallery work too. So without taking too much of your time, I just want to pass along the mic to you. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to hear more. Thank you, Julia.
Wow. Thank you, Maremi. Maybe you could just give my talk for me. I think, and thank you, Jordan and Mariana, for having this platform. It's such a great thing for artists, and I'm really honored to participate. I wanted to start off by saying that I sort of have a different background. I went to Berklee College of Music for college, and I studied composition and piano, and it was an amazing experience. And it really opened up my head. And oh, now my cat has decided to meow. Sorry, but I had a couple major inspirations there. One was John Cage, and the other is Miles Davis. And I was really drawn to their use of space around things and silence, and also kind of randomness or unintended or accidental sounds in their case. And so without further ado, I had kind of a crisis, like my third year, about where I was going with my music, how that was going to work. And I started taking classes at the Boston Museum School. And I was struck by how drawing is just like, can you hear me okay? Okay, drawing had so many parallels with improvisation and composition. And I kind of like the idea of making it and then presenting it as opposed to presenting it as you're making it. So it seemed like a better fit. And anyway, so I'm going to show you my early work, which is very brave of me. These are some paintings on paper, oil paintings on gesso paper. And I was coming to art, visual art, as a musician. And I didn't really think there were, I had no rules, nothing held me back. And I loved Maremi, and it seemed like a good place to start with still life. And I would just set things up and paint them. And I have a ton of them. I'm only showing you a fraction, but it's actually a lot. And I grew really attached to my objects, and I felt like I had a relationship with them. And I was kind of just going wild with paint. I was figuring out how to use paint and taking classes. And I had a show at the Foundry Gallery in DC in the early 90s. And I didn't really know there were any rules or anything. So I wanted to make a larger piece. So I just put 2 pieces of paper together. Still working on still life. And my still lifes began to look like landscapes. I was interested in just putting them in a deep space. Oh, that's my cat. And they were becoming more and more minimal. I was interested in the paint and the color and the space. And I started using a knife to give up control. And in like 1995 or so, I had a small show at Addison Ripley in their upstairs gallery. And I made these paintings for the show, and they're on paper because I love paper. Well, I have a lifelong love of paper. And also it is like, if it's not working out, you can just toss it. But these are about 22 by 30. And I just made a whole series of paintings of bowls. And I was interested in the geometry of the bowls and the space and the color. I just scanned these slides, so some of them are really bad. But anyway, by the way, I should say from here on out, most of the images were shot by Greg Staley. Maybe some of these early ones are mine, but these are some bird's nest paintings that I started. They're on paper, 10 by 15 inches, approximately. And I wasn't really interested in showing an anatomically correct bird's nest. I kind of wanted to create my own language to describe the architecture of the nest. And so I was experimenting with that, and I just put in that. I was painting from life. And you can see the relation to the bowls for sure. I'm not going too fast, am I?
It's a little fast.
Okay, sorry.
I really like looking at them. So like, oh, I like this one. Let me study it.
So yeah, I painted these birds' nests, which were really just vehicles for the paint, kind of. I mean, they weren't necessarily birds' nests, but for about 3 years or so. And then I had a baby and I got derailed completely. And I felt like I'd really explored birds' nests and it was time to move on. So it was kind of a perfect storm of difficult situation. And so I started making my own birds' nests. I started taking sticks and making little structures and using them as reference in my paintings. And I did that for quite a while. And well, not quite a while. I was having bad luck. I was trying to introduce line into the paintings and I don't know, it just wasn't working out in the paintings, but the structures were quite interesting, I thought. And so I had to create a series of rules for myself. And the main one being that every intersection would be tied off with wire. And this piece, these are tabletop pieces. This one's like maybe 17 inches high. And Greg Staley took this picture. It's fantastic. I feel like the sculpture is really just a vehicle for the light and the shadow. And it reminds me of like a Vietnamese fishing basket or something. Then I wanted to make some larger pieces. And so they were anywhere from 5 feet to 8 feet tall. This is actually not the first one I made, but this one's a little more geometric. This one is one of the early ones. It's probably about 7.5 feet tall. And I love the kind of organic geometry of this piece. And I would find sticks in the forest and, you know, bundled by the side of the road. I live in the city, so. But I made my first ones at the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, and they were really generous about letting me harvest sticks. And I like sticks that didn't have natural beauty or character. I wanted to make them my own. And it was kind of a push-pull because the sticks would do what they want to do. So I couldn't necessarily have an exact plan of how it would be. This is a hanging piece. It's a nest. They're not usually literal like that. And I started experimenting with different finishes. And this has an iron paint on it that rusted and which was actually a lot of work to go through for it to be brown, you know. So anyway, I really wanted to see them together. And I loved seeing, because they're transparent and you could see the density contrasted with the space. And I just really loved that. So I started painting them because I did get tired of looking at brown sticks. And this is actually, I think, one of the first ones, the very first ones that I made. And I love the shadows. And I love seeing them together. That's in my old studio on New York Avenue. This piece was in a show at the Katzen with the Washington Sculptors Group. And I just love how it's kind of floating in space. And this piece, I give all the credit to the lighting designer because he designed the installation, and it's a case where he made the piece better, you know, better than it was. And this is an installation I did at the Tacoma Park Community Center. And it was really fun. It's a 3-story atrium. Did I miss the first one? I did. There it is. And I made these separate components and I got to get on the cherry picker and hang them up, and it was super fun. And I had a lot of help too. This is from a show at the Greater Reston Arts Center. It's a collage photograph by my friend John Gessner. And but that's what the show looked like. He just took 2 pieces and put them together. And it was a really beautiful space, beautiful show. Now Tephra. This is a site-specific piece I did at the Athenaeum, and there are restrictions in that space because they have events, and so nothing can be sticking out too far. Everything has to be wall mounted. So I made these flat planes. And this is an installation I did in the DuPont Underground. Again, I skipped one. I had 4 large sculptures, which I projected a surveillance video over. And it was really great. It's so dark down there. And then the projectors were very powerful. And so the shadows looked like additional sculptures. And to me, they looked like they were watching and observing the activity in the video. So then all of my work, I feel, has to relate to itself in some way. So I started making these charcoal drawings. And this was really fun. They're just like 3 tones, and this is about 7 feet tall. And I made a bunch of these. And they are specific sculptures that I've simplified, and they're recognizable if you see them. And that one's a little smaller, it's about 5 feet tall. And then I made some smaller ones that are about 26 inches square. And they're almost like cartoons. And one of my inspirations is Joyce Pensato. I don't know if you know her, but she made these amazing charcoal drawings of cartoon characters like Daffy Duck and Mickey Mouse. And I mean, the fact that she could make those beautiful was so, inspiring to me. And so anyway, I tried to show movement and stuff in my drawings. This is from a show at Addison Ripley, and it kind of shows the conversation between a sculpture and a drawing. The drawing's not based from that sculpture, but same with that one. It definitely shows how they relate to each other. And the funny thing is, and in my show at the Greater Reston Arts Center too, I'm just struck by the weight of the drawings and the lightness of the sculpture. It just seems funny. So then I started, these are very small. They're on 9 by 12 inch paper. The images are maybe 3 by 3 inches. And I started, based on my sculptures, making little stencils of particular areas of a drawing, and then filling it in with compressed charcoal, and then lifting off the tape. The stencils were made with little bits of tape. I did that to slow myself down, and also just to give character to the marks and the shapes. So it didn't look so, I could whip this off in a second, but to me it shows, I don't know. It's just more, my work is all very process oriented. So, and these were based on the flat overlapping planes I had at the Athenaeum. And again, drawn the same way. Each piece was made with little bits of tape, and then lifted the tape off and moved on to the next shape. I love charcoal, it's probably my favorite, but don't tell oil paint that. So then I made oil paintings based on the drawings and intersections of the sculptures. And these are on paper, and they're around 15 by 24-ish. And I made a lot of these, but I only have a few in here. And what I would do is draw it out in pencil and then paint it, and then sand it down, and then redraw it and paint it and sand it down. And I use a beeswax medium made with beeswax pellets and damar and turpentine. And anyway, I wanted it to look kind of ancient and like a relic kind of. And this piece is, it's oil on Yupo. It's about 10 by 10 inches. It's a sculpture of mine. And I like pulling the background forward and kind of blurring the lines of of the space. These are done with a knife. Everything I do is with a knife now. This is a larger one. It's about 20 by 30. And the same thing, I just kept painting and sanding and then repainting and sanding. Okay. All right. Now we're current. The pandemic happened and I tried doing a lot of things. And one thing my father was sick and living far away, and my husband collects typewriters, old manual typewriters, and I typed letters to him during this time. And I thought that it would be cool to integrate that into my art practice. And so I started typing repeated phrases in a grid and drawing charcoal shapes on top. And again, they were based on my sculptures. I mean, I might have filled them in, but they were still based on the sculptures. These pieces were bought by the Art Bank, the DC Art Bank, and they're on display at the Martin Luther King Library. They have a relationship, a pretty new relationship right now. This is one of the earlier ones, and it shows, and this and the previous ones, I'm still drawing the same way with little bits of tape that define one shape and then moving on to the next shape to just really slow it down and give it more character. Probably nobody cares but me, but it means a lot to me. And so anyway, that's how I create all my shapes. I would be physically unable to make certainly a big hard edge shape like this freehand. But anyway, that got boring to me, typing repeated phrases. And I started typing my diaries and then drawing on top of them. And this piece is the one that I showed at the Phillips Collection, which Maremi and I were both in, and we were very fortunate to get in there, and it was a really wonderful experience. So I started to feel vulnerable, letting it all hang out there with my thoughts and my diaries. And so I started overtyping. And the overtyping also created patterns, which were really interesting to me. And the overtyping, it sometimes types over a line, but sometimes it types between the line. And so you can still read some of the text. And that's interesting to me. All of my typing are my thoughts. There's no random typing happening. And then I moved for a brief period to gouache, which was really beautiful. And this is a photo of my studio. I wish I was there, but the Wi-Fi is really unstable. And it's a glamour shot by Greg Stilly and made even better, improved by Franz Janssen, who took out the chimney that's in the middle and he kind of cleaned it up. But I'm showing you this because it's cool space, but also this is my big typewriter. It has a 36-inch carriage, and it enables me to type on larger paper and to make larger work. So, and then this is some of the larger work. It's typed on Japanese paper. It's kirikata, which is a handmade paper. It's really a great paper for printmakers, and it's tough and durable, but it goes through the typewriter. And this is shiramine, another Japanese paper, with blue typewriter ribbon and blue pastel. So again, I love the patterns, and I love kind of the accidents that happen. Like this vertical line here is the tab, and the typewriter gets stuck there, and I'm not paying attention, and then I've typed over it a lot, and then it just creates this line. It's in almost every one of my drawings, various places. And as I mentioned, I really like working in series. This is paper from Nepal. It's handmade and hand dyed. And it's just gorgeous all by itself. By the way, typing my diaries, this is weeks of typing per sheet. It's very laborious. And I do have these moments where I'm just sitting at the typewriter like, oh, what should I say? Oh, I can't type that. I can't say that, you know. Don't worry, everyone has a code name, and I have not revealed any state secrets that I know of. And then this was fun because it's kind of a push-pull between foreground and background. I left an empty rectangle in the middle and typed around it. And this is its companion piece, which is, you know, I just typed very densely in the middle. And two more pieces that the art bank just acquired, which I'm very happy about. And then I wanted to show you this grid. This is an unfinished grid of work, but I'm limited, obviously, in the size of the work I can do. I can do a long scroll, or I could attach pieces, I guess. But this is a grid of 9 pieces, and they're 20. Each piece is 21 inches across, and so it makes a big presentation. And one thing I just really had fun with is how one shape, a shape from the bottom of one drawing, goes into the shape at the top of the next drawing, and so on. It just, it's something I want to continue to explore, but it's really fun. This is a series of smaller works from my show at Addison, Ripley a couple of years ago. And this is a series of, these are 8 by 8 inches on kitty cotta paper. I could just keep doing this indefinitely. It kind of taps into my love of randomness and series and just using the same imagery and having them relate to each other. Then I started using different colored ribbons. This is pink and orange and pink and purple. These are 8 by 8. Okay, done with me. Now Freight Gallery. Freight Gallery is my side hustle. It's an exhibition space in an old historic freight elevator in my studio building in Northeast DC at Off the Beaten Track. It's a very small freight elevator. It's a Hollister Whitney, and it will be 100 years old next year. And my landlord keeps it in perfect shape, and everyone in the building relies on it. So I came up with a concept of having 2-hour shows in the elevator. People come to see one piece for 2 hours. I have to book the elevator. I build in installation time, de-installation time. And so Mary Early had 2 installations in the elevator. And I started this in 2019, and I paused for the pandemic and then started back up again. Michelle Montalbano did this beautiful unfurling scroll. Gloria Vasquez. You can see all of these on the Freight Gallery website with a little more information. This is a video sound sculpture installation. It's kind of an incubator space where people can try out things. Christina Penowit did this, and she's shown it several other places, but I personally think this is the best place she showed it. It's a long, dark hallway, and it's a great frame for work. Foster K. White, who also is at Off the Beaten Track, and Susan Hostetler. She's also at Off the Beaten Track. And I'm trying to find people to do a lot of different things. I really want to mix it up. And Jackie Hoisted, Ira Tattleman did this amazing installation. Chris Combs. And part of my mission is to create community. And so it's been a bit of a learning curve, I think. But people are catching on and coming out to see the shows at Freight Gallery. I I publicize it on Instagram and I send out emails. And it's really fun. The end.
Julia, that was really wonderful. It's good to see kind of the progression of going from, a more classical approach to painting, painting what you see, and kind of how it spirals into away from observational and kind of more into, I don't know, personal things. And you can see the thought process and the ideas going. I really, really enjoyed the idea of using the typewriter. And kind of these shapes, they tend to remind me of like old crop circles. I don't know, the idea of like looking down on this kind of this shape that came out of from outer space, but it feels almost like you're redacting the text at the same time. So it's almost like feels codes like your code, I don't know, breaking or something along those lines too. I'm not really sure where I'm going with the question, but I am curious to see, like, is it hard to go for you to go from one style of work, whether it be sculpture, to something like painting? Is it an easy transition, or is it kind of take a little bit of kind of brain reworking to kind of make that jump from one thing to the next?
It was a relief. I really did feel like the pandemic, and I've talked to other artists who feel the same way. It gave me permission to let go of, ideas I had about myself as an artist, or maybe, that other people had about me, and just kind of break through and try something different. It also really combines, I love reading and literature and text. And to me, it was just this really happy thing that happened. So.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. Would anyone else like to ask questions to our incredible artist today?
So are your sculptures, have you put them outside at all, or they're strictly inside?
This might be a good place to announce this. I'm putting them out to pasture. They take up too much room. And if anybody would like a sculpture, let me know, because they just have, so I have my, okay, all right. That's great. I mean, even if they were to live outside for a little bit, it's better than just setting fire to them or putting them in the trash.
That would be fun too, though.
Well, that would be a good, maybe a good photo op. Yeah.
That would be.
This is Tricia Tice. I live out in Rockville in a senior residence, and I have started 2 monarch butterfly pollinator gardens. I love your wire or stick sculptures that are curved. The weightless effect of those. I don't know how I could put one of those outside, but
yeah, you could think about it. Suspend it maybe between 2 trees or something.
Yeah, and I just love the whole story of how you've evolved. I mean, you can see clearly how your ideas have evolved into new media, and it's a wonderful way to present the whole story.
Thank you. It's really fun. It was sort of scary, and my older work is on slides, so all week I've been scanning them, and they're not maybe great quality, but anyway, it's been kind of a trip down memory lane a little bit,
Well, I'll have to figure out how to get one of your sculptures that might be appropriate for a pollinator garden.
Oh yeah, well, reach out to me on email.
I don't have real official sanction for what I'm doing, but so far they haven't let the gardeners dig it up. So,
oh yeah, oh.
Monarch butterflies lay eggs, and we've raised caterpillars for 3 years now.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I'm also looking at your giant bonsai tree behind you. How old is that?
Well, I'm like, I love bonsai, but I'm not hard-hearted enough. So I let them grow.
And what kind of tree is that? A maple tree, or what is it?
No, it's called a Brazilian rainforest tree. I forget the Latin name, but It's super easy. You just have to water it every day.
Right.
But you know what? It goes to sleep at night. Like
I'll let you go back to your
it's
art.
all done.
Great.
I have another question for you. You said oil on Yupo. How does that, I mean, is that a challenge to work with?
Yes, well, yes. It's really fun. I loved it. I loved the things I made, but I'm not kidding you. I had some drawings that never dried. Now, part of that is because I used this wax medium. And so I wouldn't do it again, but maybe with a different medium or no medium, maybe it would be better. But it is really fun, just the slipperiness of it, you know.
Did you gesso the Yupo or do
No,
anything directly?
Yupo
No,
is-
I've painted in watercolor on Yupo.
Oh yeah,
but-
yeah. No
so
need to
that's
gesso.
a challenge. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
although that would maybe.
I just wondered if
yeah, that
you,
might
for
be a challenge.
adherence,
Yeah, but
you know,
it
but then
would-
you lose the
fun.
slipperiness. You lose the fun. Yeah,
Right,
exactly. This is just beautiful. I wanted to ask you, sorry, Mariana.
No,
You want to
please.
go? I wanted to ask you your commentary on music and how you are you still thinking about music with relation to your art?
Oh yeah, I am. I love music. I think, to be perfectly honest, since there's just 15 of us here, I mean, I was not a strong player. I was never a strong player. And but I was completely obsessed with composition. And I just couldn't move on from that. So it was just difficult for me. But I love music, and
Well, has this made it easier to think about music now that you cultivated your art and sculpture style?
yeah, no, it has. But to be a musician is like to be an athlete. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm just not that disciplined, but I don't or I don't have the natural ability. But you know, I love making things, composing things. So
And do you listen to music while you're doing it?
no, I used to, but I can't. I need my full concentration when I work. I used to when I painted, I would listen to music, but I'm just not able to anymore. It's weird.
That's very interesting. Thank you. It's fantastic.
Julie, can you talk a little bit about how the gallery or the artists for Freight Gallery are chosen? Is there an application or how does that
Yeah,
work?
how?
Well, no, well, first of all, Freight Gallery, I didn't want it to be associated with me when it first started. I wanted it to be this mysterious, cool thing, you know, and I didn't think I was cool, you know, or you know, it was just neat, but it was like, oh, have you heard about Freight Gallery, you know? And so I had people contacting me who didn't know it was me, you know, and then I've invited friends and certainly people who work in the building to show. And then actually there was an article in Hyperallergic about Freight Gallery. And so the word got out in a big way. And I've been contacted by a lot of artists. And so scheduling is not my forte, but I'm trying to mix things up. Like I don't want to have video, or, you know, I want to really mix it up just in all ways and diversity wise and everything. And that's basically, does that answer your question? So I do not have a formal application, but I'm always open to look at an idea that somebody sends me. But Freight Gallery is not like an art gallery to hang things on the wall, you know. It's more to try out some kind of installation or performance. I have a few performances coming down the pike. So
Do you have to take them down after the 2 hours sessions you said?
yes, ma'am. I have a 2 to 3 hour installation time slot before the show, and then 2 to 3 hours to deinstall afterwards. So that's kind of been a deal breaker for a lot of artists, and I totally get it. I mean, a 2 hour show, but then I showed you a picture of my DuPont Underground show. That was one night. And I had to rent a van and, and set all that up. And it was totally worth it. So, you just have to decide. Yeah.
Are there a lot of collaborations that happen with Freight Gallery, like two artists coming together to kind of create an idea? I'm thinking back to like the surveillance video with your sculptures, kind of felt like a collaboration.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Dawn Whitmore collaborated with her musician friend. He made the sound for that. And I have a couple people who are going to be collaborating coming up. Chris Combs and Cece McInturf are doing something. They're not on the schedule yet. And then I don't want to be intrusive. I am acting as curator, and I'm always there to have a conversation. For instance, Tom Dryman's having a show in August, and we've been having a conversation about what his installation will be. So it's like that. I'm open to whatever. There's, it's kind of unfolding,
You're purely an artist of all media. Now you're actually being the muse and curator.
I'll tell you, everyone should have to be a gallerist. You'd have a greater appreciation for the galleries, what they have to deal with, right? I totally get it now.
And does your husband mind that you use the typewriters he collects?
He's very generous.
Oh, good.
And then we've since gotten a ton more. And yeah, there's a lot in my studio, and especially looking for ones that have maybe slightly different text, and things like that. But I can put a different color ribbon in each one and go back and forth rather than trying. And I have another big typewriter in the shop. It's been in the shop for 3 years. And they're just not able to repair it. But I thought it would be great to have different colored ribbons and be able to go back and forth. But I don't
Can
think
you deconstruct any of them that cannot be repaired and
no,
do
I
sculpture?
don't do that.
No, you don't.
Plenty of people do that, but I don't do that.
You wouldn't. Okay, thank you. And do you ever get the itch to paint again?
I do. Yeah, when I was looking at my work, I was like, oh, I want to do that, and it would be so much better today, But I am having a lot of fun with the text, and I'm working with that. And now I've added thread to it, but I have nothing to show you yet. So
Thread as in sewing thread. Whoa.
Yeah.
And of the media that you put on top of the text, which is your favorite?
Well, charcoal is really my lifelong love. I love charcoal so much.
And do you end up fixing it?
Yes, I use a Sennelier charcoal fixative, and it's not completely, it's never,
right. You can still touch, but
yeah.
That's great. And then pastel, have you done a lot of pieces in pastel, or just that?
Not a lot, just a few. I struggle with pastel. Every color is sort of different, and I struggle with the gouache too. But I want to keep going with it. I need to further explore that.
Are any of them oil on the type?
I haven't done that because, believe it or not, it might not seem apparent, but I do try to keep my work sort of archival.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I don't paint with oil directly on paper, and I think there would be an archival issue.
You could use clear gesso, I guess.
You're right. I could maybe. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Or what do you call it? The amber clear. Oh God, the word it's not in my brain.
Rattleskin glue, or
or the synthetic
PVA
one.
size?
Not so much the oh my God, that comes in a little can. Not oh my God, I can't remember the word.
On oil ground.
It's a It's used for furniture, but it also is
Oh, like a shellac?
Oh, you're-
shellac. Thank you. Or like
Oh,
which
yeah, that's a great idea.
it would
Oh.
make it a little yellow,
Yes, and that might not be a bad thing.
and that might not be a bad
Yeah, interesting.
because
Okay.
I share your love for paper,
Yes, I'm taking
And-
notes on this.
and so it
The
might
shellac
be
will sprinkle the heck out of it, though. Just FYI.
that it would
It'll make the ripple. It'll ripple it. It'll turn it wavy.
Oh, really? Well,
Mhm.
I saw a show where somebody put packing tape over their drawing, like layers and layers of clear packing tape.
clear packing tape.
Yeah,
Oof.
it sounds awful, but it looked like beeswax or something, it's really
Like yeah.
Mm.
You could, I'm wondering, just thinking about you're essentially using cold wax medium with you said the medium with a damar.
It's my own though.
Yeah, right, you make it yourself, right, but it's the same ingredients as in cold wax.
Julia, I do have one question, which was, you're kind of going from sculpture to two-dimensional, sculpture to two-dimensional. Do you see ways for what you're currently working on with the typewriters and the kind of the shapes on top of the text, how that can translate to sculpture once again, or is it kind of just going to run its course as a two-dimensional art series?
Yes, I do in a couple ways, but one kind of the weird way is with thread, which is actually, well, I don't want to say too much.
But that sounds really cool.
Too new. But
I can't wait.
to be continued on
Yes.
that.
So you'll come back and give us about the thread stuff and
I'll
tell
update.
us what your your new adventures in thread and typing.
Julia, do you, I guess, general question about your palette, how much thought do you give to your color choices?
In the typewriter drawings or the old paintings? Well, I love black. So that's why I love the charcoal, and just experimenting with, I'm just experimenting with different colors, and they really are pretty monochromatic. So, and I like combining the typewriter ribbon colors, which makes it something else. And so, yeah, while I used to paint with a lot of color, now I've, kind of become a monochromatic person for the time being.
Sounds good. I love the pieces where you painted with oil and then you sanded rather. Also, I wonder, why did you feel the sanding was necessary? Although they have a sort of mottled appearance. I love that one color migrates into another sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that's why I did.
That was the reason,
Yeah,
like texture, basically, that you.
Yeah, texture and the surface. Yeah, I thought it was just kind of interesting.
And those were on paper also.
Yeah,
right? On thicker paper.
Yeah, a very thick paper, gessoed, but I sand it lightly, not.
Right, to get to the bottom of the color, not to the bottom of the other side of the paper.
Yeah, right. Well, that might happen.
That
right?
also could happen, yeah.
And that would be okay.
That's great. Do you think you have abandoned or sort of gone beyond that phase, or might it come back?
Well, no, I'd really like to get back to it, and it would be different. I do feel like I've moved on from the sculptural forms and all that. But so where I would go, I'm not sure, but.
Very cool. It's amazing. I love the sort of synesthesia. It's not simultaneous synesthesia, but it's evolution of synesthesia in you. It's like from the music to the visual art.
Thank you. Well, I think we probably all have a story like that,
And I think that you illustrate it so well. That's what I love, because I mean, the arts are all sort of, they intertwine and interchange. So
Yeah, they really do. And it's a wonderful time to be an artist, I think.
the inspiration is fantastic. Good for you. Wow.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you again to Maremi for inviting you to join the Art Clinic Online. I want to remind everyone that in 2 weeks we have Steve Wana, who is a conceptual artist as well, working in all sorts of incredible things from magnets to time-lapse painting, explosions. I don't know how to explain. He'll do a much better job than I'm giving him credit for. But incredible artist in his own right. So join us in 2 weeks for that, same time, same place. But thank you again to Julia Bloom for talking about your work today. It was absolutely fantastic. And we hope to hear more about upcoming Freight Gallery exhibitions and exhibitions of your own work too.
And thank you so much for our donors. We really appreciate you.
Thank you to
We
everybody.
could not
Yes.
have this without you. Thank you again. And write us with ideas or thoughts, and several chat messages of how wonderful this was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And how cool you are. And Maremi.
Cool enough to be a gallery director.
There you go. Absolutely. And best wishes, Jordan, with your
Oh, thanks.
upcoming show. And
Oh,
Barbara
yeah.
Gruber's in the show too, so I'm like, oh, I love Barbara so much.
I know, right? I know she's there, right? Oh
I
God.
can't wait to see her. I haven't seen Barbara in so long, but I'm happy to. I'll get to see her on Wednesday. So
It's great.
for a big
Great.
hug.
Congratulations. So
right.
bye, everybody.
Okay,
Thank
thank-
you again. I hope
thank
to see
you,
you all
everybody.
again.
Thanks for tuning
Bye-bye.